This is how I used to draw hair, but I'm not satisfied enough with it. I'm Cora. I've decided to go restart my art journey and learn everything again from the beginning. Voted by you guys, we're gonna study a bit of hair. There are many different ways people like to draw hair, and in my opinion, hair might be one of the least restrictive things in art. You can really do a lot with it. I'm mostly gonna cover tips for stylized hair. There wasn't a lot compared to like anatomy. I'll be going over 6 things. The last one isn't really as major. I really couldn't find a lot of general tips for hair. Maybe I missed some things. Scalp and direction, the form of the hair, strands, shapes and splits, lights and shadows, hair physics, and composition. And as always, this is mostly my own notes. There's likely tons of guides out there that can provide more tips and tricks than the ones that I'm showing here. The hair originates from the scalp of the head, and some people like to mark out the hairline where the hair originates from. Some also like to mark it out into different planes: the front plane, the top plane, the side plane, and the back plane. Sometimes even the sideburns. Depends on what works for you, I guess. And obviously, the hair is connected somewhere on the scalp. If you draw something like hair that is more straight, the hair tends to often move away from an area, like a pattern. Maybe a split across the scalp, or maybe even something like a swirl pattern. When you draw straight hair and draw a lot of strands, be cautious of the hair's trajectory and make it go along with the other strands. Of course, for something like messy, textured, or just sort of more wild hair in general, where the hair strands come from likely won't be as clear and consistent. Psst, you wanna hear something cool? Your hair isn't 2-dimensional. You gotta think 3-dimensional. Always think 3-dimensional. We can simplify the hair into simple shapes and forms. Locks can be simplified and seen as cylinders, buns maybe like a sphere, and so on. I'll mostly focus on straight hair from here on, by the way. You can think of hair like ribbons. They're flat and they can be wavy. Sometimes you might see hair twist and twirl. You can imagine the hair as ribbons getting folded or something. The amount of strands that you need to draw can depend. Even a lot of art that's focused on realism doesn't draw each individual strand one by one. Usually it's just the illusion of hair strands. As for stylized art, the amount of actual strands being drawn will of course depend on the style. Maybe you like drawing detailed hair or some simplified hair. This part is going to be a bit longer and is more directed towards stylized hair. Here are 4 common variations of extra strands and cuts that artists apply to make their hair a bit more detailed. They will start off with some shape that maybe resembles a banana, a knife, or some sort of square, depending on the haircut and which direction the hair goes in. Basically, they find the overall form for a hair comb first. Type 1. You make a smaller strand next to the big one that somewhat goes in the same direction, or even the opposite direction. Type 2. You make 2 parts of hair that's next to each other and make them cross at the end. Maybe like this, or this. Type 3. This kind of triangular hole. Artists usually use this one to emphasize something that's open while still being connected. For example, like hair touching the ground and spreading out a bit, or maybe hair that's a bit loosely tied. Type 4. This kind of merging cross thing. This one is a bit more stylized than the others. It's basically 2 or more strands crossing each other while the outlines merges together. And we can even combine these to make even more kinds of hair clumps, or make a single hair clump even more detailed. We can add one type of hair strand, and then another type of hair strand, and another one, and another, and even more, and more, even more. And you can go even further. You can draw something like layered hair, and add another clump of hair, and draw even more strands. But you know what? Who cares? Who even has the patience to do all of that? And to make the strands less monotone and more interesting, try giving them different lengths and sizes. This can depend on how messy or how straight the hair is cut. Random variations of length and sizes are usually more natural looking. I'm only gonna cover this briefly cause I do wanna save some stuff to a dedicated shading video. Instead of using line art to draw strands, you can also use shading to give the illusion of strands. And remember, strands are indeed 3-dimensional things as well, so they can also cast shadows. As for the light, hair can sometimes be really reflective, almost like metal, which is why you see these strong highlights. Oh no, I don't want to ruin the face I've spent so much time on. Newton invented gravity, cry about it. Yes, the hair is affected by physics as well, and in my opinion, I think it looks more believable when it is, like someone tilting the head so the hair drops down, or maybe something like the wind blowing the hair around. Some artists also like to make their hair interact with the environment, maybe the character or something around them. By the way, the hair can be kinda airy. I don't know, it basically isn't flat on the head. It kinda puffs out a tiny bit. Okay, maybe not if your hair is like soaked. In the core here, I almost forgot to add this part. How much the hair puffs out of the head will of course depend on the hairstyle and also the art style. I've seen numerous artists draw very poofy hair, and I draw it as well sometimes cause I just think it looks nice. And yeah, some styles will completely ignore the laws of physics, and yes, it is possible to have wild hair. This won't really apply to every artwork, but some artists likes to make the hair a part of the composition. I wanted to talk about this since I don't think I've seen that many people considering to make the hair as a major part of the composition, and usually just think of hair as just something that the character has. You see how in this art, the hair is trying to pull your eyes to the focal point. This isn't a major thing for actually drawing or constructing the hair, but rather just another way to play around with it. All of the tips in this video will be noted down in my slides like usual. That's all the tips I had for this video. There's maybe tips that I haven't covered, so go study I guess. I didn't do a full artwork this time for the hair, cause I wanna wait for my clothing video. You can see here that I'm trying to do a bit of practicing. It honestly didn't turn out that bad. Doing a hair study right after anatomy was really refreshing, cause god, anatomy isn't that bad to study, but making a video trying to compile all the information from anatomy absolutely drained me. And thank you by the way everyone for watching. I was planning to maybe try streaming or something at 5k or 7k at some point, I don't know. That could be fun, or even make a Discord server. Alright, that's about it. See y'all.